Georgia, Tennessee ahead of a big game in Athens hasn't been buzzing like this in over a month. There hasn't been a home game in Athens in I think it's about 37 days. But Steve, the talent is on campus, headlined by quarterback Julian Lewis, committed to USC. Then we got a couple Tennessee commitments: Travis Smith, Christian Gass on campus, Jamarian Morrow committed to Mizzou. You get it. There's a bunch of flip targets on campus. We'll hit on more. But also quarterback Jared Curtis makes his return. The number one linebacker in America in the 2026 class, Tyler Atkinson, he's on campus. Georgia pulling out all the stops for this one against the Tennessee Volunteers.
Yeah, absolutely. And 5-star cornerback DJ Pickett, the number one corner in the land, LSU commit, visits Georgia this weekend. Early in the week, there was talk of him visiting Florida, but he is between the hedges tonight, a return visit to Georgia. And one thing that I know the family's always liked about the Georgia program is T-Rob, one of the defensive backs coaches, and then just the pedigree of player development under Kirby Smart and his staff. Certainly what he loves about LSU, playing in the SEC, playing against that competition week in and week out, that certainly holds the same truth at Georgia. And the Bulldogs getting him to campus today. He's been on campus all day, arrived in the morning. So he's been there for all the buildup in the hoopla going into the weekend. Can Georgia flip Travis Smith Jr. on 300 receiver, currently committed to Tennessee, having a wonderful senior season? You and I and Chad Simmons talked earlier this week. We think that Georgia's alive for Travis Smith Jr. Same goes for on 300 linebacker Christian Gass. So, they're taking their swings at some coveted guys currently committed to Tennessee to go out there tonight and beat the Vols on their home field. Maybe those are the inches that you're looking for in what could be a tight recruiting battle down the stretch.
All right. So I think the people want to know, what do you make of Julian Lewis, the USC quarterback, being on campus this weekend? We know that he's currently trending to Colorado based on all these latest predictions, but he shows up at Georgia. Is this a visit to a big game, or do you think there's more to Julian Lewis in Athens this weekend?
I think that if you're recruiting Julian Lewis, you got to offer a few things to him to ultimately land his signature. Early playing time, a pathway to that. I actually think Georgia may check that box. Obviously, Carson Beck is going to exhaust his eligibility this fall. You have guys like Gunnar Stockton and Ryan Puglisi on the roster. Also brought in the other transfer. Why am I blanking? Jaden Rashada. Brought in Jaden Rashada. But I think that'll be an open competition in spring camp. And Julian Lewis, if he were to enroll early, would be thrusted into that. And he's shown over the course of his career that no stage is too big for him, leading his high school football team to the state championship in the largest class as a ninth grader. Do you have the team to compete and win a lot of games with talent around him? Do you have an exciting offense where he can flourish in it? I think obviously he sees that as a factor at Georgia. And then do you have the infrastructure and resources to land a signature from Julian Lewis, who's already one of the highest grossing athletes in this class with some of the endorsement deals that he has? That's where I start questioning. I think Colorado has that. I think they check all the boxes that I said. Plus, I just think he already feels like he fits in at Colorado, and it's a program that needs him, and the opportunity for him to start in his first year is all but guaranteed there. So I still like Colorado, but we'll see how the conversations and stuff went today with Kirby Smart, Mike Bobo and company. We'll see if this is a visit where afterwards we're saying he committed to Colorado over Georgia,
Yeah. I mean, I talked to Rusty Mansell during the week, and he wasn't I'll just say that it doesn't feel like Georgia's all in. Rusty alluded to the fact that they probably were going to get on campus and have a real discussion with Julian Lewis and his family, kind of see what they want, like where everything fits. But the one thing we do know, Steve, is that Georgia wants a second quarterback in this class because earlier this week, Jaron Sagapulitelli, who is committed to Cal, decided to move his official visit back. So he's not on campus this weekend. But we do know that Georgia, it feels to me that they're more all in on Key Sagapulitelli than they are on Julian Lewis. Are you reading that the same way I am?
I think that late in the cycle, I do believe that. And then Camario Taylor, the Mississippi State commit,
Right.
Georgia also recently offered him. So I think those are two new names that they're excited about. Obviously, there was a time in the process where they were excited about Julian Lewis, but I think that they went their separate ways for a number of reasons. Can that be reconciled late? To Rusty's point, those are conversations that are having to be had this weekend when he visits campus.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, let's talk about these 2026 names on campus before we get off of Georgia. Jared Curtis, Tyler Atkinson, Savion Hyder, Derek Cooper. Georgia is battling for the number one class in the 2025 cycle because of the work that they did a year ago with the names that we're talking about now. So, how are they doing with some of these monster 2026 names?
Well, they're at or near the top of the list for Tyler Atkinson. Ohio State's a program that's up there. USC, Auburn, a couple others firmly in the mix for Tyler Atkinson. He's been out to Texas, but I like where Georgia stands early for him in his process. Savion Hyder has a top 5 that includes Michigan and Ohio State and Tennessee, Penn State. He's visited all those programs with the exception of Penn State this fall. So getting back to Georgia, he was there in the spring, had a fabulous time. So they're in the thick of it there. Derek Cooper's made some rounds. He was at Ohio State last week. He's been to Miami a couple times. Miami looks like the early favorite, but Georgia's in the middle of it. And then Jared Curtis, Oregon's his current leader, but his recruitment's been fluid. Number 1 quarterback in the country in the 2026 class. Recently decommitted from Georgia. This is his first time back in Athens. He's excited to see Mike Bobo again, Montgomery Van Gorder, Kirby Smart, get in that atmosphere, get around the guys. Georgia's still at or near the top of his list. Again, Oregon's the leader, but he said, look, I'm not committing soon this time. So even though I like Oregon the most right now, he's going to take multiple visits to all these schools before he decides. So he's got Ohio State next week. Then he's got Ole Miss for the Egg Bowl, then Alabama for the Iron Bowl. Then he wants to hit them all again early next year. And then he said he's going to take his official visit. So Georgia's right there, still building equity in that recruitment, with this weekend being another huge opportunity.
All right, Georgia fans, talk to Steve and I as this Tennessee game kicks off. But I want to talk quarterback recruiting with you guys. What do you think? Jerron Key Sagapulatelli. Do you like Julian Lewis as a fit? What about Camario Taylor? It's clear, though, that Georgia is going to take a second quarterback out of the high school level. So comment below, who do you guys want the Dogs to take at quarterback? Let us know.